Mic check.
Money check. Mindset check.
This is Mic'd Up Money Reloaded.
Where entrepreneurs talk money,
Strategy, systems,
and execution. No fake hustle, no empty flexing, just real business talk that gets you right.
Mic'd Up Money
Reloaded, talk that strategy, show it. Systems moving, profit growing. Real entrepreneurs already know it. No fake value, better own it. Price meets pain when the bridge is built. Execution turns the vision golden. If the plan is weak, the pressure gets felt.
Mic check.
Hey. Money check.
Mindset check.
This ain't just motivation. This is business correction. This ain't just conversation. This is money direction.
You want profit, build the model. You want growth, fix the flow. You want increase, check the numbers.
What you don't know can stop the show.
Mic'd Up Money
Reloaded, talk that strategy, show it.
Systems moving, profit growing.
Real entrepreneurs already know it.
Hey.
No fake hustle, no empty flexing, no more guessing, no more
Stressing, money, strategy, systems, execution.
Reload the vision, rebuild the plan. Price the value, know where you stand.
Mic'd Up Money
Reloaded.
Bumping 96.3 FM. iHeartRadio, YouTube.
Where entrepreneurs talk money,
Strategy, systems.
and execution.
Stop just listening.
Start applying.
Mic'd Up Money.
Reloaded.
Let's get it. Let's get it.
Mic'd Up Money Reloaded is provided for educational, informational, and strategic discussion purposes only. The content shared in this episode is not legal, financial, tax, accounting, investment, employment, or professional advice. Listener, viewers, entrepreneurs, business owners, nonprofit leaders, and organizational decision makers should consult qualified professionals before making decisions that may affect their business, finances, contracts, employees, customers, compliance obligations, or legal responsibilities. Examples, frameworks, tools, comments, and opinions discussed during this episode are intended to help listeners think, plan, communicate, and execute more effectively. Results are not guaranteed. Outcomes depend on market conditions, business model, pricing, operations, customer behavior, leadership decisions, and execution quality. Any reference to sales, pricing, revenue, business growth, or customer acquisitions are strategic and educational in nature. Mic'd Up Money Reloaded, Efrem Keith Simmons, or any affiliate business entity are not responsible for decisions made by listeners or viewers based on this episode. Use wisdom, get counsel, run the numbers, read the documents, then execute with clarity. Old school sales bragged about selling people what they did not need. Reloaded sales is about helping people understand the value of what they actually need and want. Sales is the mother's milk of business. Without sales, the business cannot eat. Without customers and clients, the business cannot breathe. Without revenue, the vision becomes an expensive hobby with a logo, a website, and invoices that still come due. The problem is not always that entrepreneurs lack talent. Many are talented. Many have real value. Many can solve meaningful problems, but too many cannot translate that value into language a buyer understands. So they talk about features, tasks, credentials, efforts, passion, and package while the buyer is silently asking, do I need this? Do I trust you? Is this worth the money? Will this reduce my risk? Will I regret this decision? This is why this episode matters. Today we are talking about greasing the grind, getting to the bag, the language of sales. Not manipulation, not hype, not pressure, not begging. Sales is the language of value. If the customer cannot understand the value, they will not respect the price. And let me say this in plain language. If you are scared to sell, you are scared to let your business live. You do not have to become slick. You do not have to become pushy. You do have to become clear. Clarity is not optional when cash flow is on the line. The beg is not hiding behind noise. It's hiding inside the conversation the buyer finally understands. Welcome to Mic'd Up Money Reloaded, where entrepreneurs talk money, strategy, and systems and execution. I am your host, Efrem Keith Simmons, senior business consultant, business strategist, professional trainer, and guide for the grind. Today's episode is Greasing the Grind, Getting to the Bag, the Language of Sales. The episode promise is simple. By the end, you should know how to open a sales conversation with respect, needs, and wants. Ask what others miss, decode best and worst buyer experiences, handle discount requests, protect your price, and use value language that helps customers and clients make better decisions. This episode is connected to a fully developed level of toolkit. Because listening is good, but execution is where the money starts acting right. In Math and or Magic, we dealt with the income math. We asked whether your revenue goal was realistic, predictable, expandable, and repeatable. Then Prices to Profit took the next hard step. It reminded us that revenue without margin can keep you busy and broke at the same time. Math or Magic tells you what you need to earn. Prices to Profit tells you whether the sale is actually worth keeping. Getting to the Bag teaches you how to speak value so buyers understand why the investment makes sense. We have tools. The tools that tied in was Keeping the Income Goal Reality Check, Monthly Income Target Calculator, Weekly Sales Activity Planner, and the 90-Day Revenue Action Map from Math and or Magic. Also keep the pricing and margin lessons from Prices to Profit in front of you. A sale that does not protect profit is not progress. It is motion with a receipt. Segment 1, Everybody Sale. Let's remove the resistance first. Some people hear the word sales and immediately think pressure, manipulation, commission breath, and somebody trying to close them before understanding them. This is bad selling, but the existence of bad selling does not excuse you from learning good selling. Everyone sells because everyone who needs cooperation must communicate value. A business owner sells to customers. A founder sells to lenders. A nonprofit director sells to donors and grant partners. A trainer sells the value of behavior change. A consultant sells the value of better decision. A leader sells a direction before the team commits energy to the work. The real question is not whether you sell. The real question is whether you sell with clarity or confusion. Professionals sell value, not confusion. Amateurs hope the buyer figures it out. Behavior economics tells us that people are not only buying the rational offer, they are protecting themselves from loss, embarrassment, regret, uncertainty, and wasted money. That means your language must reduce risk while increasing perceived value. We have some tools here. The first tool is the Sales Identity Reframe Worksheet, and the Level Up Toolkit helps you identify what you sell beyond the product name. It helps you name the trust, confidence, relief, clarity, status, protection, and measurable outcome your buyer is really purchasing. If the income goal reality check reveals that your revenue target is not supported by enough buying conversation, this tool helps you stop treating sales like a side task and started treating it like the business function that feeds the numbers. Your sales identity must include price confidence. If you see yourself as someone who only helps, you may apologize for charging. If you see yourself as a value creator, you can charge in a way that protects margin, capacity, and sustainability. Segment 2. Sales is the mother's milk of business because it feeds the company. Marketing can create attention. Branding may create recognition. Operations can deliver the promise. Accounting may track the numbers, but sales convert value into customers, clients, and cash flow. If there are no sales, there are no customers. If there are no customers, there is no recurring revenue. If there is no recurring revenue, the business becomes dependent on hope, loans, favors, and last-minute desperation. Hope is not a revenue model. It is a spiritual virtue, not an accounts receivable strategy. This does not mean every conversation should be aggressive. It means sales must become a disciplined business function. You need a language system. You need a process. You need standards for discovery, pricing, objective handling, follow-up, and decision-making. What conversations create revenue? What is inconsistent? And what sales habits need to be built so the business is not starving while the owner is busy? In the episode Mathing or Magic, you need to go back and see that. You can pair this with the historical income definer and strong revenue stream identifier. If last year's income came from weak accidental sources, this sales tool helps you identify where intentional customer acquisition must replace revenue guesswork. Sales feeds the business, but profit keeps it alive. Connects to prices to profit because the customer acquisition only matters when the price structure leaves enough margin to serve well, reinvest, and stay in business. Segment 3. Start with a modest compliment. The first move in a sales conversation is not the pitch. Start with a modest compliment, not fake flattery. A modest compliment acknowledges the buyer's seriousness, effort, thoughtfulness, or concern. You may say, I appreciate you for taking time to think this through. Or, I can tell this decision matters to you. Or, it sounds like you are not just looking for a quick answer. You are looking for the right answer. This kind of language lowers resistance because the buyer feels seen before they feel sold. Fake compliments sound like grease on a cheap wheel. Specific acknowledgement sounds professional. The buyer's brain is asking, is this person listening or just waiting to pitch me? A respectful opening tells the buyer you are not trying to run over them. You are trying to understand them. We have a tool called the Modest Compliment Starter. This tool gives you professional opening lines that fit real conversations without sounding desperate, dramatic, or fake. This also ties into the episode Mathing or Magic with our weekly sales activity planner, which tells you how many conversations you need. This tool improves how those conversations begin because a bad opening can kill the buyer's trust before the value ever gets explained. Also, this ties into our episode Prices to Profit because a respectful opening prepares the buyer to hear value before price. When the conversation begins with trust and clarity, your price is less likely to sound random, inflated, or disconnected from the buyer's need. After a modest compliment, ask the question that changes the conversation. What brought you here? Do not start with, what package do you want? Start with, what made this important now? Ask, what are you trying to accomplish? Ask, what do you need? Then ask, what do you really want to be different? Needs and wants are not always the same. A buyer may say they need a website, but what they want is credibility. They may say they need consulting, but what they want is confidence that they are not making decisions blind. They may say they need training, but what they want is a team that stops losing customers in the conversation. Your job is to hear the stated need, locate the deeper want, and understand the urgency. Why now? What changed? What happened if this does not get fixed? What would success look like? We have a tool called the Buyer's Needs, Wants, and Why Now Discovery Map. It converts scattered buyer comments into value language you can use ethically. It ties into our show, Mathing or Magic, because when you use our tool, the monthly income target calculator, this tool shows you need more closed sales, more leads. Better discovery helps you stop wasting time on buyers who are curious but not urgent, interested but not ready, are present but not qualified. Price is the profit episode ties back into the tool Why Not Discovery Map. This tool helps you clarify whether the buyer has urgency and value awareness. Price is the profit teaches that not every interested person is a customer, especially when urgency is low and price pressure is high. Segment number 5, why did others not understand? One of the strongest sales questions you can ask is, what have others not understood about your request, your needs, or what you are trying to accomplish? That question uncovers frustration. It reveals what the buyer is tired of explaining. It exposes where previous providers assumed too much, listened too little, overcomplicated the solution, ignored the budget, missed the timeline, or failed to explain the process. If the buyer says, people keep trying to sell me packages, but nobody really understood my business, your value language becomes, my process starts with understanding your business model before recommending a solution. If the buyer says, everyone made it too complicated, your value language becomes, I help simplify the path so you can make decisions without drowning in jargon. The buyer will often hand you sales language if you ask better questions and stop interrupting the answer. We have a tool called the Misunderstood Buyer Audit. This tool helps you identify what others missed, what assumptions damaged trust, what explanations were incomplete, and what your offer must clarify before the buyer can feel confident. Also, this ties back into our episode, Mathing or Magic, because this connects directly to the Revenue Link Finder. That tool asks if the buyer keeps leaving without deciding, the leak may not be price. It may be that your sales conversation does not address what previous providers failed to understand. Also, this ties to our other episode, Price is the Profit. It's that when you ask what others did not understand, you also learn what value the buyer is willing to protect. Better understanding supports stronger pricing because you are no longer selling a generic service. You are solving the specific frustration that created the buying moment. Segment number 6, best experience and worst experience. I asked 2 questions that most sellers skip. What was your best experience trying to solve this kind of problem? What has been your worst experience? The best experience tells you what the buyer appreciates. The worst experience tells you what the buyer feared. Maybe they love clear communication. Maybe they hated being annoyed. Maybe they valued speed. Maybe they regretted paying for a service that sounded good but delivered confusion. People define value by comparison. Their memory of past experiences become the emotional background of the current buying decision. If the buyer's worst experience involved being abandoned after payment, then your sales language should emphasize communication, milestones, and follow-up. If their best experience involves step-by-step guidance, then your language should explain your process. Behaviors, economics again. Buyers are not just seeking gains. They are trying to avoid losses. They do not want to feel foolish with their money. We have some tools to help you with this segment. It's called the Best Worst Experience Value Decoder, which helps turn buyer stories into language about trust, risk, expectation, proof, and service standards. Also, this tool ties back into our magic episode where we have the customer arbitrage tool because buyers compare options emotionally and economically. Their best and worst experiences tell you what value differences you must communicate to avoid being treated like a commodity. Also, this thing ties back into our price is the profit because in this episode, the buyer's best and worst experience reveal what they believe is worth paying for and what they refuse to pay for again. Use this to defend the parts of your price tied to reliability, communication, clarity, speed, and reduce regret. Segment number 7. The questions that go unasked. Now ask what almost nobody asks. What questions do you feel people should ask but usually do not? Then ask what questions have people asked but never fully answered in the way they gave you confidence. This is where the seller becomes a strategic listener. Buyers often carry questions they are afraid to ask because they do not want to look inexperienced, cheap, confused, or difficult. When you create room for these questions, you reduce decision friction. You can say, I want to make sure I do not assume the wrong thing. What would you need to know from me to feel confident moving forward? What would make this feel like a smart decision instead of a risky one? This last question is a money question because the sale does not happen when the seller is excited. The sale happens when the buyer feels safe enough to decide. We have a tool called the questions that reveal urgency, hesitation, risk, and confidence gap. This also ties back into our episode, Mathing or Magic, because the forecast confidence scorecard tells something is weak and you could not just blame the market. It asks whether your sales process leaves buyers' questions unanswered because unanswered questions become delayed decisions and delayed decisions become missing revenue. In our other episode, Price is the Profit, unanswered questions create pricing resistance. Price is the Profit belongs here because buyers often challenge price when they do not fully understand process, deliverables, risk, timeline, or expected result. Segment number 8. Stop selling features, start selling change. Features describe what something is. Benefits describe what it does. Value explains why it matters to the buyer. Too many entrepreneurs stop at feature. Weak language. I provide consulting. Strong language. I help business owners find money leaks, fix weak systems, and make better decisions before the business bleeds out. Weak language. I do sales training. Strong language. I help teams stop losing customers in the conversation before the close ever happens. Weak language. I create toolkits. Strong language. I create execution tools that help entrepreneurs turn ideas into decisions into actions and actions into measurable progress. Customers do not pay premium prices for activity. They pay for relief, confidence, clarity, protection, speed, profit, simplicity, and transformation. Stop naming only what you do. Start naming what changes because you do it. We have a tool called the Decision to Value Translator, which helps you convert tasks, deliverables, and credentials into language the buyer can understand and evaluate. This ties back to our previous episode tools, Mapping or Magic, Strong Revenue Stream Identifier, because that tool becomes practical. A revenue stream is only strong if buyers understand the value clearly enough to choose it, repeat it, refer it, or upgrade from it. This connects to our other previous episode, Price is the Profit, because feature to value translation is the bridge between price and profit. The buyer cannot respect the price if you only describe activity. Profit protecting prices require language that names the change, not just the task. Segment number 9, selling the invisible. Selling services is different from selling a product sitting on a shelf. When you sell consulting, coaching, training, strategy, creative work, ministry services, nonprofit support, or intellectual property, the buyer cannot fully touch the result before buying. You are selling the invisible. That means you must make your process visible, explain what matters, explain what happens first, what happens next, what the buyer receives, what the result is designed to accomplish, what it does not promise, and how the buyer can evaluate progress. For invisible services, clarity is part of the product. If you cannot explain the process, the buyer may assume there is no process. If you cannot explain the outcome, the buyer may reduce your work to hours. If you cannot explain the proof, the buyer may compare you only by price. We have a tool called the Invisible Value Proof Builder. This tool helps you show process, proof, expectation, risk reduction, and decision confidence before the buyer buys. This also ties into the tool from Mapping or Magic. If you pair this tool with the unutilized IP inventory and IP actualization roadmap, books, toolkits, consulting frameworks, podcasts, workshops, and media assets can become revenue streams only when the invisible value is made visible to buyers. It also ties back to our episode, Price is the Profit, because invisible services need visible proof before premium prices make sense to the buyer. Price is the Profit taught that price should reflect value, but this segment shows how to make the value visible enough to be believed. Section number 10, objections are unanswered value questions. When a buyer says that costs too much, they may mean I do not understand the value. When they say I need to think about it, they may mean I feel uncertain. When they say I need to compare, they may mean I do not yet see why you are different. Do not fight objections blindly. Translate them. Ask, what part of the decision still feels unclear? Ask, is your concern more about price, timing, trust, or expected results? Ask, have you paid for something similar before and felt disappointed? Defensive sellers sound desperate. Value-focused sellers sound prepared. We have a tool called the Objection to Value Reframe Worksheet. This tool helps you to identify whether the objection is really about price, timing, trust, clarity, risk, authority, urgency, past disappointment, or lack of proof. This also ties back into our Mapping or Magic episode too, because objections affect your forecast confidence scorecard. If too many prospects stall at price, timing, trust, or clarity, your income forecast is not dependable until those objections are translated into answered value questions. It also ties back into our Price is the Profit, because many objections are pricing objections on the surface and value objections underneath. Use the Price is the Profit mindset to avoid panic discounting and instead clarify the outcome, risk reduction process, and margin reality. Segment 11, discount requests and future promises. Now let's talk about one of the slickest traps in sales, the discount request wrapped in a promise of future purchases. You have heard it before. Give me a deal this time and I'll bring you more work later. Take care of me now and we are going to do a lot of business together. We are just testing you out. If this goes well, we have more projects coming. I know a lot of people. I can send you referral. A promise of future business is not the same as future business. A possibility is not a purchase order. A compliment is not cash flow. And I'll take care of you later has left too many entrepreneurs financially dizzy busy and emotionally irritated. Future business has value when it has structure. No contract, no deposit, no retainer, no purchase order, no volume schedule, no timeline, no defined second phase. Then it is not future business yet. It is a conversation. Use this principle. Future purchases do not discount present value until the future commitment is documented, scheduled, and financially meaningful. Possible future work does not reduce the work required today. Here is the language. I appreciate the possibility of future work, and I would welcome the opportunity to build a longer-term relationship. For this project, I price based on current scope, current value, current deliverables. When there is a confirmed future commitment, we can structure pricing around that larger agreement. If they say they are testing you, say, the best way to test a relationship is through a clearly defined starter engagement, not a discounted full engagement. If they promise referrals, say, referrals are always welcome. I do not reduce project pricing based on potential referral, but I do have a referral appreciation structure once referral business is completed. Strategic rule: discount the scope before you discount the value. A smaller budget can receive a smaller scope. A full result requires a full investment. We have a tool called the Future Business Discount Decision Tool, which helps you decide whether a discount request is strategic, dangerous, premature, or worth restructuring. It asks whether the buyer is reducing your risk or only asking you to reduce your price. This ties back to our tools from Mathing or Magic, because we have a tool called the Monthly Income Target Calculator from Fake Mail. A promised future purchase is not counted revenue. Do not let future talk reduce present price unless the future commitment is documented, scheduled, and financially meaningful. It also ties back to our episode Price is the Profit, because this is the direct bridge to Price is the Profit. Discounts, deals, and future price promises may be tested against margin. Future talk should not destroy present profit. Structure the future before you price the present. Segment 12, follow-up is still sale. The sale does not end when the conversation ends. Follow-up is still sale, but weak follow-up sounds like just checking in, touching base, wanted to follow up. That language is tired. It sounds like your email is wearing horseshoes. Follow up with value. Say, based on our conversation, here are 3 issues you said mattered most. Or you mentioned that your biggest concern was wasting money on another solution that does not. Here's how I suggest reducing that risk. Or you asked what would make different from your past experience. Here is the difference in process, communication, and expected outcome. A good follow-up reminds the buyer that you listen. It reconnects your offer to the stated value. It clarifies the next decision. We have a tool here called the Follow-Up Language Builder that helps you recap what the buyer said, reconnect the offer to value, and ask the next step without sounding like you are chasing them down the street with an invoice. This ties back into our episode in our Magic, because we have a tool in that episode called the Weekly Sales Activity Planner, which tells you should not count follow-up as activity unless the follow-up adds value. A week just checking in message is motion. A value-based follow-up is sales action. Also, it ties back to other episode, Price is the Profit, because follow-up should reinforce both value and price confidence. If the buyer is hesitating over cost, your follow-up should not beg. It should reconnect the price to the problem, the process, the outcome, and the cost of staying stuck. Strategic hustling moment. Everybody sells, but professionals sell value. Not confusion. Stop describing what you do. Start naming your changes before you do it. Do not discount today for a promise that may disappear tomorrow. Structure the future before you price the present. Math tells you what you need. Price protects what you keep. Sales language helps the buyer understand why they should pay. This is the whole episode in business language. Customers do not pay premium prices for your busyness. They pay for relief, confidence, clarity, protection, speed, profit, and transformation. If you can't explain the change, do not be shocked when they challenge the chart. Level Up to Invocate. This episode has a fully developed Level Up toolkit called Get the Bag, the language of sales. It is built for entrepreneurs, consultants, coaches, trainers, creatives, nonprofit leaders, ministry leaders, service providers, and business owners who know they provide value but need stronger language to communicate. Inside the toolkit, you get worksheets, scripts, and planning tools to help you ask better buyer questions, translate features into value, handle objections, respond to discount requests, create stronger follow-up, and build a repeatable sales conversation system. If you completed mathing or magic, bring forward your income target, strongest revenue systems, revenue leaks, weekly sales activity goals, and 90-day action map. Then use this toolkit to create the buyer language, discovery questions, value statements, objection responses, and follow-up messages needed to support that plan. The Level Up Monthly Toolkit subscription gives subscribers access to episode-connected tools designed to move from listening to execution. Current monthly toolkits, prior toolkits, premium tools, and special business building resources may be available at www.mic'dupmoney Reloaded. Go there to subscribe, review available resources, and purchase other tools. Let's bring it home. Sales is not begging. Sales is not manipulation. Sales is not talking fast enough to outrun doubt. Sales is the language of value. Everybody sells, and sales is the mother's milk of business language. And sales is the mother's milk of business because it brings customers, clients, and cash flow into the company. Start with respect. Ask why the buyer is here. Find out what others miss. Decode the best and worst experiences. Ask the unasked questions. Translate features into value. Make invisible services visible. Reframe objections. Protect your price against imaginary future promises. Follow up with value. If this episode gave you language you can use, share it with another entrepreneur who is good at what they do but struggles to explain the value. Like the episode, subscribe to Mic'd Up Money Reloaded. If you're watching on YouTube, leave this comment. I sell value, not confusion. If you're listening on radio or podcast, share it with someone who needs to stop underselling their experience. Mic'd Up Money Reloaded. I am Efrem Keith Simmons. Keep grinding, keep building, keep asking better questions. And remember, if they do not understand the value, they will not respect the price.
Mic check.
Money check. Mindset check.
This is Mic'd Up Money Reloaded.
Where entrepreneurs talk money, strategy, systems, and execution. No fake hustle, no empty flexing, just real business talk that gets you right.
Mic'd Up Money
Reloaded, talk that strategy, show it. Systems moving, profit growing. Real entrepreneurs already know it. No fake value, better own it. Price meets pain when the bridge is built. Execution turns the vision golden. If the plan is weak, the pressure gets felt.
Mic check.
Money check.
Mindset check.
This ain't just motivation. This is business correction. This ain't just conversation. This is money direction.
You want profit, build the model. You want growth, fix the flow. You want increase, check the numbers.
What you don't know can stop the show.
Mic'd Up Money
Reloaded, talk that strategy, show it.
Systems moving, profit growing.
Real entrepreneurs already know it. No fake hustle, no empty flexing, no more guessing, no more
Stressing. Money, strategy, systems,
execution.
reload the vision, rebuild the plan. Price the value, know where you stand. Mic'd Up Money
Reloaded.
Bumping 96.3 FM. iHeartRadio, YouTube.
Where entrepreneurs talk money,
Strategy, systems.
and execution.
Stop just listening.
Start applying.
Mic'd Up Money,
Reloaded.
let's get it. Let's get it.